Well, here we are, final week, final full week, of course. We'll be voting in early next week. And I don't know what's happening. I'm not going to pretend that I do. There seemed to be a bit of a tightening in the polls over just the last couple of days, even showing the Liberals moving into the lead. I'm a little bit skeptical. And I'm only skeptical because there seem to have been a lot of different polling models and updates being updated with the same two polls that both showed what was, to me, an inexplicable bump by the Liberals. And one of those polls, at least, it's a rolling poll, is already showing the numbers tightening back up again. So my gut feeling is that we had a couple of glitchy polls that introduced a bit of late race excitement. But otherwise, it's been a fairly uneventful campaign. I'd expected there to be some vicious oppo drops, candidates being embarrassed by their opponents. We've had some of that, but nothing's really stuck. I expected some big moments on the campaign trail between the campaigns. We haven't really had a lot of those. You know, there's been the usual range of events, but most of the stuff that's been interesting on the trail these last few weeks hasn't actually been about the major campaigns. We've been watching the People's Party soar up in the polls, but interestingly, not really seeming to take any of their strength from the other parties. They seem to be pulling in new voters. Whether or not these people show up, I'm not sure. Your guess is as good as mine. If they do, it will be interesting. We've seen some of the old greatest hits. Jody Wilson-Raybould's book coming out. The Conservatives going after the Liberals about spending. The Liberals going after the Conservatives about guns. The NDP going after both about supporting the rich, blah, blah, blah. Overall, it's been fairly uneventful. We'll see if we get one more week of that. There's a lot happening out there, including all over the country, protests outside of hospitals by anti-vaxxers and those worried about lockdowns. The thing that worries me in this home stretch isn't that the candidates haven't had a chance here. It's that I'm not sure any of them are actually paying attention to what's happening out there in the broader world. We live in very interesting times. I don't really know if our politicians have kept up with all the changes that have been happening in the world, even just over the last month or so. Most of what I've been hearing these political leaders talk about this campaign, whether or not I agree with the policies or otherwise, seems to be like they're in a little bit of a make-believe world where COVID hasn't upset a whole lot of apple carts, where we're not in a new geopolitical order, where our federal national finances are frankly in much better condition than they're in. Politicians don't like to talk about big issues on the campaign trail. You'll probably all remember that infamous quote, "Oh, an election's no time to talk about big ideas." But we do have to talk about big ideas in this country. We've got big problems in this country. We've got big structural problems in this country. And I'm not a defeatist. I think we can fix them. But we need to start talking about them first. We're in a month into this campaign here, and I haven't heard a whole lot of that. Hey, still a week to go. But I'm not expecting to be surprised, at least not on this front.